Good evening and welcome. We continue with our COVID-19 special edition on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. It's a 30-minute daily update at noon at 6 p.m. and a 45-minute update at 9 p.m. on the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria and across the world. First, here are some of the highlights today. Vice President Professor Aviation tests negative to COVID-19 as some state governors begin self-isolation. It's more hectic days ahead of aero contractors, Airlines, as they prepare to shut down operations. For the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, he tests positive to COVID-19 as Spain's death toll surpasses that of China. The nation may have to brace up for more hectic days ahead as the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, today confirmed 2 new cases of COVID-19, one in Lagos and another in Osun State. Like the last 7 days, both cases are set to be returning travelers to the country. As it stands today, Nigeria has 46 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country. 2 persons have been discharged and 1 is fatal. The breakdown of confirmed cases by state shows that Lagos has the highest number of infections with 30, the FCT 8 cases. Ogun State has recorded 3, while Ekiti, Oyo, Edo, Bauchi and now Osun State have 1 confirmed case each. And the searchlight is on Nigeria's presidential villa, where there's yet to be an official confirmation as to the status of the chief of staff to the president, Abba Kyari. But there are indications that people associated with the villa are already doing health checks on COVID-19. The vice president of Nigeria, Professor Aviation, before now had been in self-isolation in accordance with the NCDC protocols and has tested negative to COVID-19. On his Twitter handle from his aide, Mr. Laolu Akonde, it was established that the vice president was observing social distancing and working from his home office. In the meantime, the presidency has described President Muhammadu Buhari's negative test for coronavirus as a thing of joy. President Buhari's special advisor on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, in an interview at the State House, also denies reports making the rounds that some media houses have been banned from covering the State House. The president's spokesman also spoke about other issues, including the suspension of the Federal Executive Council meeting.
So that calls for rejoicing with him. Anybody that does the test and tests negative, we rejoice with that person. And anybody that does it and tests positive, it's not a death sentence. We also would pray along with the person, give the person our goodwill and best wishes, and they will surely come out of it. The Executive Council was suspended because of the size. You have over 50 people seated in the council chambers whenever the meeting holds, and that is not advisable at a time like this. But if there will be a very important decision to be taken, you can always summon the relevant people, 3, 4, or 5, and hold a small meeting and arrive at a decision. It does not mean that one man is going to be taking all the decisions. Of course, yes, there are executive decisions, but the ones that must pass through consultation and which must have the buy-in of the Federal Executive Council can always be discussed at smaller meetings. What happened is that in the press gallery, you have about 108 journalists in that single hall. And it goes contrary to the spirit of the times. The times dictate that you don't have too many people congregated in one place. Imagine 108 journalists, and if one of them happens to catch the virus, he spreads it among all the journalists. So we said, for now, let them stay away. Not much is happening for now. Let the journalists stay away, but we picked a certain number, representative of the media. They will come in. If there is anything, they will cover. And those outside will also not miss, because there will be a system in which they can share reports.
Pictures of the prevention materials donated by Chinese billionaire Jack Ma to Africa, which finally arrived Nigeria. In a tweet on Tuesday morning, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed named South Africa, Burundi, Rwanda, Togo, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, South Sudan and Nigeria as countries to receive the shipment. Nigeria took possession of the test kits and personal protective equipment, which contain 100,000 masks and PPEs. The permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, says there are 20,000 test kits to be distributed to the 5 laboratories in the country, 2 in Lagos, 1 in Abuja, 1 in Osun, and 1 in Edo State. And today, Osun State recorded its first confirmed case of COVID-19. On the method of discovery, the state governor said the sample tested at the NCDC Center, accredited testing center in Ede, Osun State, turned positive Tuesday night. The government also announced measures of contact tracing to identify people who might have been in contact with a patient said to be a returnee from the United Kingdom and is currently receiving treatment. According to the state government, pre-infection measures had already been taken 2 weeks before confirmation of the first active case from the NCDC. Governor Oyetola has since announced measures to close its markets from Friday, March 27, and to commence land border screening with a ban on all public gatherings.
Before now, Osun State was not in the list of states with confirmed COVID-19 cases. But all that has changed, with the state governor, Gboyega Oyetola, making a pronouncement on a first case in the state.
He is a returnee from the United Kingdom and is currently receiving treatment. The sample was tested at the NCDC Accredited Testing Center, which is the African Center of Excellence in Genomics of Infectious Diseases, Ede, Osun, and the results returned positive on Tuesday night. However, this confirmed case is not the first one we'll be subjecting to investigation, but so far all the others have tested negative.
In the meantime, the Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi has taken immediate precautions by isolating himself after reports of a confirmed case of coronavirus. The state recorded its first and only case on March the 18th. Governor Fayemi said he recently had a meeting with 2 persons who have tested positive to the virus. The Ekiti State Governor is not the only governor taking seriously the strict adherence to the guidelines issued by the World Health Organization on COVID-19. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has also gone on self-isolation. He gave reasons, saying he has had close contact with the Bauchi State Governor, Bala Mohammed, at a meeting of the Nigeria Governors Forum, and also the Chief of Staff to the President, Abubakar, who is a suspected case of the virus and whose health condition is yet to be made public. The Nasarawa State Governor, Abdullahi Sule, has gone into self-isolation as well, in the wake of the reality the NEC meeting presents.
As has been clearly stated, if anybody who has come in contact with those who have been found positive with COVID-19, it's expected of the person to take self-isolations and observe all the necessities, preventive measures for us to do. Our governor is also human. He is not an exception, and he has taken to that.
While Governor Sule's decision to self-isolate as a result of contacts he has had with some persons who have come down with the novel coronavirus, including the suspected case of the Chief of Staff to the President, Abubakar, his aides and the Deputy Governor of the state have been informed to self-isolate as well.
An update on state governors who are isolating themselves and others who are out of it. Well, to aviation now, as Nigeria makes concerted efforts to curb the spread of the pandemic. Domestic carrier Air Peace has announced the suspension of all its flight services. In a statement signed by its Chief Operating Officer, Mrs. Toyin Olajide, Air Peace said it has decided in the best interest of the nation, the passengers' workforce, to suspend scheduled flight operations for 23 days, effective 11 p.m. on Friday, the 27th of March 2020, to protect their teeming passengers and staff from becoming victims of the pandemic. While Aero Contractor Airlines has also decided to suspend its operation for 2 weeks as part of efforts to curtail the spread of the pandemic. The airline said the suspension would become effective midnight, March the 26th, lasting for 2 weeks.
The 5 international airports in Nigeria are shut to foreign traffic, but the impact on domestic travel is huge as passenger traffic thins out.
The passengers are losing confidence, and as they're losing confidence, just like what has happened in Europe, airlines will begin to fly ghost flights, and once they begin to fly ghost flights, they now begin to cancel and eventually stop flying, which is something that we're going to get to if we continue, if all the states begin to shut down their schools, their companies and offices, then there'll be no reason to fly.
While domestic travel is gradually taking the impact, global airline loss will be unprecedented as the International Air Transport Association revised its loss estimate to $252 billion.
The loss is colossal. We have not seen anything like that. Yes, we had the experience of Ebola in 2014. We had the experience of the downturn in the economy of the world at that time. But this is totally a new dimension, and it's uncharted territories. So if we're talking about over 100 billion loss in the aviation sector in Nigeria, I think it might be right.
As Nigeria and indeed the world battles the coronavirus disease, the question for the airline industry is how long will the airlines remain out of business? Bukola Joe Kitumbi, Channels Television News.
Well, joining us for more on the pandemic, spread of the pandemic, is Dr. Alera Roberts. She is a public health physician, second vice chairman of the Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, Lagos chapter. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, interesting days we're seeing, not just in Nigeria, but also around the world. Are there concerns that you have as a health worker with regards to what we're seeing now when this began, where we are, especially with regards to our infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure?
Oh yes, certainly there are a lot of concerns that a lot of us have concerning where we are now, concerning where we started, and where the world has gone. It is clearly evident that countries that are far ahead of us in development are certainly not coping in terms of the human resources for health, in terms of the bed spaces, ventilators. We're hearing the news from all over the world, and it'll be very disingenuous of us to think that we are actually in a position to cope with a deterioration in the situation.
We heard that several state governments are turning certain centres, infrastructure, schools, hotels into isolation centres. How healthy is this?
Well, it's certainly a very good idea. Our concern generally is isolation centres need personnel. And you need a lot of highly trained, specialized personnel to run isolation centres, which need a lot of specialized care for patients who have very severe, for the more severe complications of COVID-19. So do we have enough anesthetists, anesthesiologists? Do we have enough respiratory nurses, ICU nurses? Do we have enough respiratory physiotherapists? Do we have enough of the specialized cleaning officers who can take on the specialized cleaning that is needed to make sure the environment remains sanitary? So these are questions that should have been asked a couple of decades back, perhaps, but these are challenges that we're going to have to face.
So Lagos is looking at perhaps disinfecting bus stops, which we've seen earlier today. Does that help? And what do you think other state governments, should they be doing that as well?
Certainly they should. And if they can extend it to markets, it's a very, very good idea.
Does it help curb the spread?
It does help curb the spread, because this is a droplet spread infection that we know of as in the data that's coming out today shows that it is a droplet spread infection. So certainly wiping down surfaces is a very, very, very useful tactic, and doing the mass wipe down as they're doing in the bus stops. Because don't forget, we go into these bus stops, they're the bus railings, they're the surfaces that you invariably lean on, touch, and then you're touching your face. It's a fantastic
Finally, do you think that COVID-19 cases will reduce or increase?
I think we're still on the upward incline. We're still, going
even
to
with
go
all
up.
the lockdown, land borders, international airlines.
Yes. Now, don't forget that lockdown is as lockdown does, because we're still not a society that is strong enough infrastructurally and in the welfare areas to completely shut down and put in a no movement. We're very good at it when the time comes. But, you will still have those daily paid hand-to-mouth citizens who need to go out every day. So it'll go a long way to curbing the transmission, but we're still going to see quite a few more cases before we start to see the decline.
All right, we appreciate your time. Dr. Larry Roberts, the public health physician, also the second vice chairman, Association Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, Lagos chapter. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Still ahead, we join our state correspondents on happenings around them. Plus, we find out why the death toll in Spain has surpassed that of China. Join us again.
Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that cause illness, ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases. The current outbreak, COVID-19, is a new strain that has not been previously identified in humans. The incubation period for COVID-19 is between 1 to 14 days, most commonly around 5 days. Common signs of infection are cough, respiratory symptoms, fever, shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, kidney failure, and even death. Here are some basic protective measures against COVID-19. Frequently wash your hands with soap and water for up to 20 seconds. In the absence of soap and water, thoroughly clean your hands with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Maintain social distancing, at least 1 meter or 3 feet distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Practice respiratory hygiene. Cover your mouth and nose with your bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Then dispose of the used tissue immediately. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Greet people with a wave, a nod, or a bow. If you do have a fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical attention immediately. In case of an emergency, you can call the NCDC toll-free number 0800 970 00010. Lagos State Emergency Hotlines 08000 Corona, 080 231 69485, 080 335 65529, and 080 528 17243.
Lagos State government officials have also been disinfecting bus stops. We told you earlier, and not just bus stops, motor parks in the metropolis. Channels Television's correspondent caught up with them in action in Surulere and stadium areas of the city. An official of the state's Ministry of Environment says the measure is part of efforts to stop the spread of coronavirus. It seems the awareness campaign for people to observe social distancing is beginning to record positive results. Some areas, including the Ikeja shopping mall in Lagos, had a high degree of compliance. As you can see there, people could be seen waiting in line with about 1 meter distance in accordance with the World Health Organization's guidelines for the pandemic. But in the meantime, residents in Lagos are panic buying. Most of the open markets, like the Ojota Mile 12, they experienced large number of people trying to stock up on foodstuffs. The rush, we hear, resulted in heavy traffic that stretched from Ojota to Ikorodu. That's the outskirts of the city center. And now to some of the state governors with new restrictions in curbing the spread of COVID-19. We begin in Rivers State, where the government has shut the Port Harcourt International Airport, all land and sea borders, and restricted vehicular movement in and out of the state. The state governor, Osun, gave the directive today following what he describes as the state's narrow escape from being infected. He says vigilant security agents had acted on a tip-off by preventing an infected person from boarding a flight from Abuja to Port Harcourt on Tuesday. In another state, Jigawa, the government is lending a hand looking to convert the Jigawa hotels into an isolation center for the northwestern region if the cases of COVID-19 pandemic continue to increase in the country. In Oyo State, as part of measures to ensure the readiness of the state, Governor Seyi Makinde, accompanied by members of his cabinet, visited the newly designated isolation center here at Jericho Chest Hospital to assess the emergency protocols in place, having ordered that measures should be scaled up. While in Cross River State, the state government has enforced thorough screening checks at state entry and exit routes in a bid to ramp up efforts to ensure the state remains safe and COVID-19 free. Now, staying with the measures of indeed the state governors in containing COVID-19, our correspondents have also been bringing us updates since today. Let's go over to Plateau State, where our correspondent Yemi Kosoko gives us an update. Now, he's saying that there is some level of compliance in the state.
Thank you and welcome to Jos. Level of compliance to directives by the government of Plateau State has not been encouraging. Though some parts of the markets, those are the shops, are under lock and key. People are seen clustering around the shops, which is contrary to the social distance rule. Also, the ban on street hawking has not been encouraging, as hawkers are seen hawking their wares around the city center. The issue of hand washing and the use of sanitizers has been a bit of encouraging, as customers are seen entering some commercial venues, washing their hands and making use of the sanitizers. Concerns, however, are great on how these directives will be enforced by government, saying that some of the directives are yet to be complied with. These are the latest development from Jos. Yemi Kosoko, Channels Television News.
But for our correspondent in Bayelsa, Timiwo Dobra, it seems to be business as usual.
Welcome to Bayelsa State. I'm at Swali Market, which is one of the biggest markets in Bayelsa State. And as you can see, buying and selling activities are still ongoing. The daily routine in Bayelsa State is yet to be affected by the outbreak of the coronavirus. For most of the traders and those buying their wares, they believe the COVID-19 virus is still a tale. Civil servants are still going to work. Businesses are still open. People are still moving and not applying the social distance that is being preached everywhere. Pupils and students are writing their second term examination. In Bayelsa State, people are yet to come to terms with the fact that they should stay at home, they should maintain social distancing, as the COVID-19 virus is very deadly. Dobra Timiwood, Channels Television News.
In Niger State, our correspondent there is saying that there is no case of coronavirus, but the government is taking precautionary measures.
Welcome to Niger State. These are the latest developments we're tracking as far as COVID-19 is concerned in the state. First, the state government has said no case of coronavirus infection has been recorded so far. Although on Tuesday, in one of the national dailies online, it was published that the state had recorded its first case of COVID-19 with 6 suspected cases. But the Commissioner of Health, Dr. Mohamed Makusidi, issued a press statement debunking that claim. On Monday, the 23rd of March, Governor Abubakar Bello says as part of measures to curb the spread of the disease, the state would observe curfew from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. beginning from today, Wednesday, the 25th of March. We've gone round to see the level of compliance, and what we have noticed is that the curfew order is not altogether successful. What we have seen are people working about and commercial motorcyclists and motorcyclists doing their businesses. We also went to the Mina Central Market and the Tunga Market. Traders still display their goods outside the market. From Mina, the Niger State capital, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
So while we look through our global updates on the pandemic, joining us is our health correspondent, Yomi Otagbe. Yomi, let's begin in Nigeria first, and that's today. We're seeing panic buying. A lot of people wandering, going to shops in some places. We've seen in several, perhaps other cities, Bayelsa, people are going about their normal business. But what is really happening, considering that the state government said essentials, pharmaceutical, food and water should still continue, even though the ban is starting tomorrow?
Okay, so let me tell you about Lagos. I was around the Ikorodu Mile 12 market area, and it was chaos. Chaos in the sense that people that left home, say, around 7 a.m. and as at 10, for a distance that shouldn't be more than 10 minutes, you know, they have not gone anywhere near half.
All right.
So, and what is happening is that people are, if you see the heads at the Mile 12 market, people buying, and you know, I had interaction with some of the people, and they say the government is closing all the markets, and I said no. What I heard the governor say yesterday is that essentials, particularly food markets, will be opened.
And water.
And water.
Let's look globally now. We're hearing that Spain, the death toll seems to have surpassed that of China. We're hearing stories, coronavirus is delaying Russia's, Putin's vote, and then Prince Charles testing positive for the virus.
And some people have described it as the royal infection. You know, it's today we heard that story. And they have said that there's no, they really can't ascertain how the Prince of Wales, you know, got to contract the virus, because he's had a high number of engagements, but he's having just mild symptoms, and he's working from home, and that's for the UK. For Spain, well, we have not been able to put our hand on why that, you know, the deaths are occurring and increasing like that. But as of today, over 700 people died in Spain, and that makes Spain the second highest after Italy.
Briefly tell us what will happen. UN Secretary General said there should be a global ceasefire. In Libya, we're seeing one case, but we hear that the rival factions are not necessarily adhering to that, or in Syria.
So that's going to be dependent on what, you know, all of the rebels and, you know, those that are fighting would have to think and say, okay, do we want to continue fighting in the midst of war? And Libya is a war-torn country. Do you understand? And so one case may just be too much for them.
Thank you so much, Yomi Otagbe, our health correspondent here at Channels Television. And that's the program at this time. We continue with our COVID-19 special edition on the pandemic in Nigeria and across the world at 9 p.m. tonight. You don't want to miss that. Also, tell us how you're observing the various restrictions. Send us pictures or perhaps a short video. I'm Millicent Wonka. Goodbye for now.